Hello everyone, assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Today we're gonna solve a LeetCode problem called single number. It's 136. So it's an easy problem. We're gonna solve it using TypeScript. So it's easy, don't worry. It says given an empty array of integers nums. So we have here a non-empty, so the array will not be empty, and it's full of integers. The array is called the nums. So here is the input number array. Every element appears twice except for one. Find that single one. Again, every element appears twice except for one. Find that single one. So basically every element appears twice, as you see, every element appears twice. So 2 appears twice, 1 appears twice here and here, 2 appears twice here and here, except for 1. Except for 1. As we can see, the problem is called single number, except for 1. Find that single one. So there is a single number that is only repeated once, like here number 1 is only repeated once, it only appears once, so we should return it. 4 appears once, we should return it. 1 appears once, we should return it. The other numbers, because they are repeated more than once, we shouldn't care about. 1 here and 1 here, we shouldn't care about it because it appears twice. 2 here and 2 here, so we shouldn't care about it because it appears twice. We should return this element that only appears once. This one only here appears once, this one here only appears once, this one here only appears once. So there are several ways to solve this problem, but for this video I'm gonna use a very simple way. Let's call it frequency. Okay, we're gonna solve the frequency. The frequency is how many times an item appears. So for example, 1 appeared once, so 1 is the key, the value is 1. 2 appears twice, so this counts how many items appeared. So this frequency map, we will create it and we will count how many items, how many times did each item appear. So 1 appeared once, 2 appeared twice. Okay, let's take a look here. How many times did 1 appear twice? Okay, so 1 is 2. How many times did 2 appear twice? Then 2. How many times did 4 appear? 1. Okay, so we will create this frequency map. Okay, so my solution is that we will get the frequencies. So we will create this frequency map. So let's say here, create the frequencies map, and return the element that has 1 as its frequency. Okay, so return the element that has 1 as its frequency. Okay, so let's do number 1 by creating the frequency map. Okay, let's copy that. Now we will try to create the frequency map. We created a type called the frequency. Frequency has a key of type of string and value of type of number. Alright, so we say here constant frequency, which has the type of frequency, equals an empty object. So we say here for key in value of so we're looking for the value for constant num in nums. Okay, so for constant num in nums, we will iterate over the array and then we will find each element how many times it was repeated. We say here if frequency, if num in frequency, so we say here frequency that has the index of num plus equals 1, else. Okay, we say here else frequency that has the index of num equals 1. Okay, now let's try to here console.log frequency, console.log frequency, and also let's just return a number because we will hit an error. Not to get an error because the type should be a number. So we created this for loop that will count the frequency. So let's try to test it. Okay, so there's something wrong here. for constant num of nums, sorry, of nums, yep, key in value of, okay, yep, so it worked now. So as we can see here, 1 was repeated once, that is correct. 2 was repeated twice, that is correct. The second example, I got these examples from here. These are the examples. 1 is repeated twice, that is correct. 2 is repeated twice, that is correct. 4 is repeated once, that is correct. And finally 1 is repeated once, that is correct. Okay, so we got the frequency correct. We created this frequency map using this for loop. We initialized the frequency as empty, and then we iterated to find how many times each element was the frequency of each number. And now what we're gonna do is that we need to know the element that its frequency is equal to 1. We need to know the element that its frequency is equal to 1. Okay, so we gotta do that. Okay, so we say here for key in value of constant num of key in value of for constant num in frequency. Okay, we say here constant, and we say here appearances equals frequency that has the index of num, and we say here if appearances equals 1, return num. Okay, but num here is a string and we should return a number, so we say here parse integer of num. Okay, so we try to run this code now and let's see how this plays out. Yep, so we got here 1 was repeated only once, that is correct. 4 4 was repeated only once, that is correct. 1 is repeated only once, that is correct. Alright, so this is the code in one screen so that you can take a look at it. So we created a type called frequency, and this is the function single number. We initialized the frequency, filled the frequency, and found the element that has the index that was repeated only once, and this is just a substitute for the number because it expects a number. So if there is anything just quotient, for quotient we return 0. Okay, so now let's copy that and let's paste that, and now let's run and see how this plays out. Test results, we're waiting for it. Okay, okay, we copied it without the frequency type, so let's copy it with the frequency type. Yep, now let's run. Okay, so we have here the cases, they are successful. Now let's try to submit. Yep, it worked. We passed all the test cases. So now let's talk about the final thing to talk about is let's discuss the time complexity and space complexity of the implementation. So the time complexity, n, is the number of elements in this numbers array. So is the number of elements in this number array. So time complexity is order of magnitude of 1, order of magnitude of n, and space complexity is order of magnitude of n. So it's linear in time and space. So let's take a look here. Why is that? Because we have a for loop, we iterated over numbers, and we have a for loop, we iterated also over the frequencies. So it's like this is not a for loop in a for loop, this is a separate for loop, and this is a separate for loop. So the time complexity is order of magnitude of n, it's linear, and the space complexity, because we created the frequency variable, so it's almost like, yeah, so it's linear, order of magnitude of n. So this is it. I hope you found this video to be helpful. Thanks a lot. Assalamu alaikum. One last thing I want to say is that actually the fact that what we have done here is actually like it helped me solve too many LeetCode problems. The fact that we aggregate the data in a numbers array into a single variable, This is very important. So we get data and we try to aggregate it and collect the information in a single variable, and then that is the frequency, for example, and then in the frequency we find what we are looking for, because we can't find it in nums directly. So in the frequency for here we try to find what we are looking for. So I want to say that this like pattern helped me solve too many LeetCode problems, and I'm sure you will find this concept of frequency to be helpful. I'm sure you will find it helpful. I hope you found this video to be helpful. Thanks a lot. Assalamu alaikum.